Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School District of Springfield Township Board of School Directors regular board meeting, March 17th, 2015. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The reading of the mission statement, Dr. Taratusky.
The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ms. Casalis. Here. Mr. Lapidus. Here. Mr. Rayer. Mr. Richardson. Here. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Schultz.
Here.
Dr. Taratusky.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here. Announcements. The board, at its discretion, may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006.2, Broadcasting of Meetings. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following the board meeting. Are there any public comments on agenda items? Approval of minutes. February 17th, 2015, regular meeting, board minutes L. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Aye. Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Richardson. Aye. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Approval of Treasurer's Report. Treasurer's Report H. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Richardson. Aye. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Dr. Taratusky.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Reports and information. District PTA report, Christine.
Hello, I'm Christine. I'm representing the EHSP. And we have a couple of things coming up this month. We have our Scholastic Book Fair. It starts this Friday and runs through the following Friday, and it will be going on during parent-teacher conferences so that students and parents can pick out books as well. We have our talent show, which is coming up this Friday and the following Friday at night. It's in the Erdenheim gym. So the kids have prepared numerous acts. I think there's probably almost 100 acts over the course of 2 nights. So a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, maybe not so much Frozen this year, but I'm sure there's a new movie out that they will be, maybe Annie, so we'll see. We have our kindergarten parent night, which is next Thursday, the 26th at 6:15. It's to welcome all the new kindergarten parents over to the Enfield School. They'll get a tour, they get to meet the teachers, meet other parents as well, so it's gonna be a good night, and Dr. Mitchell's really excited. And then we have our Rise and Shine breakfast. That's an opportunity for parents to come in and actually have breakfast with their children. This is at Erdenheim on April 9th and 10th. We know it's over Passover, so we will be having kosher items as well for those families. So the kids love that. And then we have our carnival coming up. So that's sort of our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's going to be on Saturday, May the 16th from 11 to 3. It's over at Enfield. We utilize the indoor, the outdoor space. There's going to be inflatables, a rock wall, games, prizes, food. So we encourage everybody to come out and support us. I do think there's going to be a dunk tank as well. And I heard there's going to be some teachers in it. So that should be a lot of fun. And lastly, we're going to be sending out a communication to all of the parents. We are preparing to staff up for next year, and we have a couple openings on the EHSP board, including a president position. We need an assistant treasurer, and some other items. So there'll be some communication going out, and we're going to try to recruit some volunteers. So if you know anyone, send them our way. And that's it. Thank you.
Student Council report, and I know I'm going to say these names wrong, so I apologize. Danny Giampietro, Ben Wiley, and Josie Anderson.
Is this on? Oh, okay. I'm Ben Wiley, and this is Danny Giampietro, and co-vice president of Student Council. This winter, we held both the annual badminton tournament and our March Madness tournament. 32 teams participated in this year's badminton tournament. Teams competed for the title of a Springfield badminton champion and for the most original uniforms. Chris Benet and Julian Salzer won the tournament, while Eager McVeigh and Brianna Littlepage took home the prize for the most original uniform. The proceeds from the badminton tournament went toward our March Madness fundraiser.
This year, March Madness was a huge success. We had the largest participation to date with 12 student teams, the Springfield Steppers, the pep band, the concert choir, the guitar lab, student referees, and the faculty team. In addition to the basketball tournament, this year we held a school-wide fundraiser for St. Baldrick's Foundation. St. Baldrick's Foundation raises money for pediatric cancer research. Students and staff donate money, and others purchase raffle tickets, with the winning tickets granting the honor of shaving a head during our St. Baldrick's Brave the Shave event. During the tournament, Martin Vito, Mr. Vita, Mr. Mazurek, and Dr. Rittenhouse volunteered to shave their heads to help us raise money for St. Baldrick's. Donations, raffle tickets, and the proceeds from the badminton tournament totaled $1,650. We'd like to thank everyone who donated their time, money, and hair. And we'd especially like to thank Colin Delaney, who addressed the student body on Friday. His courage and sense of humor inspired us all.
This weekend, the Springfield Thespians will perform their spring musical, Once on This Island. Performances will be on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. The Student Council is now busy planning for our spring events. We will reopen the after-school snack bar for the spring sports season. Also, the 8th grade visit will occur April 28th, and in May we will hold the Red Cross Blood Drive, Fun of the Sun, and the Ultimate Frisbee Tournament. Thank you.
Thank you.
Student recognitions, Dr. Charles Rittenhouse and Dr. Nancy Hacker.
Well, first off, I just want to point out, you'll be hearing from Mr. Vietz a little later on, but he is one of the victims of the hair shaving from the competition at March Madness, along with Dr. Rittenhouse, who's going to be stepping up to introduce. We have a number of awards to give out to students this evening. Some of them are academic, some of them are in the arts, but we wanted an opportunity to recognize some special achievements. So Dr. Rittenhouse, I'll let you handle the honors and I can handle the certificates.
Okay.
I want to say you look very good, Dr. Rittenhouse.
Thank you. It did get rid of my bald spot, at least temporarily, which I saw on the earlier tape here.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see a great crowd. This evening, it's my distinct pleasure to honor 8 Spartans who received awards recently. And we'll begin with Monique Harmon. She is the winner of a National Achievement $2,500 scholarship. 1, it's very competitive. 2, it's very prestigious. The National Achievement Scholarship Program is conducted by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. And this scholarship is underwritten by the NMSC. Monique Harmon. The National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition in America for recognition and scholarships among high school students. Millions of high school students take the PSAT and SAT each year. They have determined which of the 16,000 semifinals have met all the requirements to advance to finalist status next year in the 2015 competition. Our finalists are, in order, Joseph Joey Delmar. Come on up. Second, Asia Kapakasandi. And third, Elizabeth Munns, please. Liz Munns. Congratulations to those 4 individuals. Many high schools this year have no winners and go year after year, and we're very proud to have 4. It's such a great number, so congratulations. Grace Alt is the winner of this year's Educational Theater Association's nationwide Democracy Works essay contest. As a result, Grace will have the opportunity to deliver her essay in front of 500 to 600 people at the Arts Advocacy Day in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Next week, she will also be featured in Dramatics Magazine and has won a cash award as well. Grace Alt. We have students hustling down here from the school play, obviously. So thank you, and I know it'll be a late night tonight. So, Julie Rudnick won 2nd place for the programming category in the Montgomery County Intermediate Units Regional Computer Fair, which was held earlier this month. Julie Rudnick. Elizabeth Alt won 1st place for the digital movie category at the Montgomery County Intermediate Units Regional Computer Fair, which was held earlier this month. Elizabeth will move on to the state competition in May. Elizabeth Alt.
Everyone should come out and see the Spring Musical this Thursday at 7:30 and Friday and Saturday at 7:30 too, and Sunday at 2 o'clock. The lead part is double casted with myself and my best friend Charlotte Bleemer, so you can come twice, and it'll be 2 completely different shows. Thank you.
Thank you. And tickets are available at the door. Elizabeth, it's good for you to see you to finally come out of your shell there. Thank you. So, and last but not least, Alyssa Kerr is qualified for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association All-State Choir and Chorus. That's the PMEA. She is commended for her talent, her discipline, and dedication to choral art. She has shown continuous growth as a choral singer, according to Mr. Pontel, throughout her preparations for the Region 6 Festival. Alyssa Kerr. This is a very prestigious award. Congratulations. Thank you. And she has a lavalier mic on, so she can keep. You can do your lines on the way down the hallway. So, I'd like to congratulate all our outstanding students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rittenhouse. Thanks, everyone. School Board recognition, Dr. Nancy Hacker.
Well, first of all, I just want to say it's really such a pleasure to have such fantastic students here in our Springfield Township community who accomplish such wonderful things. And Aside from the academics, as you've heard, the small percentage of students who actually become national merit finalists and semifinalists, we have so many students who are so talented in so many other ways. So I've encouraged all of our principals, as they learn of the wonderful accomplishments of our students, to let me know so that we can bring them here to a board meeting and give them the accolades and the recognition that they so well deserve. So now, on another note, unfortunately, Representative Steve McCarter was unable to be here this month and last month, but January was School Board Members Recognition Month, and so he has sent over some certificates to honor the service and the volunteerism of our board members, recognizing them for their dedication and their commitment to making the very difficult decisions that have to be made so that we can move forward in terms of what we try to accomplish here in Springfield Township. So each school board member seated before you, as well as those who could not be here tonight, have received a certificate from Representative McCarter's office, and I just want to share with you what it says. And this is Gretchen's. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Gretchen Slapinski, Springfield Township School District, in recognition of School Director Recognition Month, attested to in the County of Montgomery and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and certified with the signature affixed. Steve McCarter, Member, House of Representatives, 154th Legislative District. So my thanks to all of our board members for their time and their efforts and their commitment on behalf of all of our students and staff.
Next, we have a presentation, Chromebooks in the Classroom, Past, Present, and Future.
So I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to Rich Oliver, who is our Director of Technology in the district. And Rich has brought with him a number of our teaching staff members who've been utilizing Chromebooks in the classroom. And we have a special treat here this evening. We also have some students with us tonight who are going to talk about their educational experiences using the Chromebooks as well. So Rich, I'm going to turn it over to you. We're anxiously awaiting your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker, and thank you everyone on the board for making time on the agenda so that we can bring some what I feel is fantastic information back to the board. I also want to thank all the teachers in the 8th and 9th grade who have supported the initiative so far, and those teachers that are here to present tonight to spend their time and share that information. Additionally, the administrators who have participated in how we would move forward and how we would implement everything, and especially the students, because they've been equally participating and making the initiative very successful. So what brought us here today, in the past, we have historically leased computers, and we have just under 1,200 devices that will be coming to an end of their lease in this school year, 2015. They are spread throughout the district. The majority are in the high school, the middle school, and approximately 260 in Erdenheim. Those devices are machines at the end of the lease, the end of the school year, in June or July timeframe, which can be purchased by the district for a fair market value, or they can be returned to Dell for the lease in an appropriate amount of time in working condition that we receive them in. When I identified that we had this many devices being coming to end of the lease, last year we put in approximately 400 Chromebooks into the 8th grade and the 9th grade. That's 200 in the 8th grade, 200 in the 9th grade. Graciously, Dr. Rittenhouse and the high school, as well as Ms. Davis in the middle school, and we were very supportive in how we would move forward. We worked with some of the teachers about how we could use it and gradually move them into the classrooms so that it would not be a huge change. So tonight's presentation is really going to go over what we've done. That's kind of where we've been and how we got where we are. And then we'll talk a little bit about where we're going to be going in the future. So a little bit of the presentation tonight. We're going to go over what is a Chromebook, and you don't want to miss this part. This is fabulous because we got two of the greatest people doing that one. And what does it look like in a classroom? I don't think you can miss the second slide either, because that's going to be just fabulous. And the third part, we're touching on what actual technology integration do we have? What is going on? What type of engagement are we getting out of using that technology with their students, with the teachers, and actually with their peers? And what type of feedback are we getting back? We started a survey at the beginning of the school year for the students and the teachers to see where they felt where they are. We did a mid-year, which these results will show the mid-year, and at the end of the year we'll have some additional results as well. And next we'll look at what the students say from the data as well as our next steps. Everybody wants to know this one fiscally. Just give you a heads up, we're doing really well. Things will look really nice. There's no sledgehammer coming in that slide, that's mine. And then we're going to kind of look a little bit at our instructional coach team. Dave is going to give us an insight from his end, from the instructional coaches, and then we'll get to some questions. So that'll be our presentation for tonight. Our MC for tonight is somebody with a shaved head. Dr. Rittenhouse is going to keep us on track. I know it is a busy schedule, and there are a lot of slides. Everyone will be brief, but they will give you more information than we are able to compact today. So we'll go ahead and move forward, Dr. Rittenhouse.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oliver. Once again, good evening. We have, we hope, a very interesting presentation for you this evening. And we will begin by, I'd like to introduce Charlie Beal and Cara Terry. They are 8th graders, and they are going to show you what a Chromebook is, or what is a Chromebook.
Hi, my name is Cara Terry.
And my name is Charlie Beal.
And today we're gonna give you a reason why we should all have Chromebooks. Okay, so first, I really like the Chromebooks, and they're easy to use, and it's easy to access everything on the Chromebook. I'm able to get all my work saved, and I'm able to do it in class. And if you have free time, you know, some people, you know, you may read a book. I mean, that's cool, but sometimes people have a lot of work to do, you know, when you get home. So why not do some IXL? Because I know one week I had 8 IXLs to do. So it was really helpful just to be able to use this in class and to get it done, because I got it done, you know, I got it done. But I really like the Chromebook, and a lot of my peers like the Chromebooks too, and I think personally, I think we're really safe with the Chromebooks. I know there may have been, you know, 1 or 2 accidents, but they'll still be able to give you a Chromebook, so you're never going to lose your work, because as long as you have your SDST email, you're able to still access everything when they give you a new computer. So maybe the only thing you need to change is maybe downloads. Probably not even that, who knows. But the Chromebooks are really nice. They're very productive, and they're light, easy to carry. I mean, maybe something extra to what you're carrying, but it's not really, you know, it's not that much to carry when you're going down the halls to class. And you're able to save everything because it saves automatically with Google Drive, so all your stuff are saved. Thank you.
And Cara mentioned about the Chromebooks being productive. So one thing that's good about the Chromebooks is that they're really fast. So I'm going to give a demonstration here. And if I just open the Chromebook, it will automatically turn on.
Yeah, because this was
and bam, it's on in like 5 seconds. So it's really good in terms of being quick, and you can just start working right away as soon as you open your Chromebook. And another thing too is it has really good access to all the Google apps, like Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Calendar, Google Classroom, whatever you're using. And for another demonstration, to show the quickness and the accessibility. So I'm signing in now, and I'm going to open Google Docs, so you can see that right there. And then I'll make a new doc here, using the plus button. And then instantly, once I have the Share tab open, well, skip that. So I can share it with Dr. Hacker. And I'm sending it now, and now it's shared. So, and you can check if you want to confirm. I'll share with you too.
Yeah.
And I'll share it with Kara too to also show that.
Just, thank you, Dr. Hacker. If we could have our students talk a little bit about organization and productivity and communication.
Oh, okay. Well, I like communication, so much as that one. It's very easy for me to communicate with my teachers because we have been writing a lot of papers for 8th grade, and it's easy just for me to type it down, and they're able to access it as long as you share it with them. They're able to access my essay or paper, whatever you're writing, and they're able to make, changes, or they can give you like a hint, comments, say, well, I think you need a little bit more of this or a little less of that, or you need to add this. Because I know I did one paper and my teacher told me I could add a citation for this one, and I said, oh, yay, extra citation. That's awesome, more points for my project. So it's easy to communicate, and you can email your teachers, and they also use a separation because since it's a private email, you're only able to share things with students, but you can't email with students, but you can email your teachers, and it's not available to outside people unless they have an SDST email. So it's completely private, because I know I tried it with my mom one time. I said, wait, Mom, it's private, I can't get it, and you can't get it, so I can't send her anything, and she can't even send anything to me. So yeah, so I think communication is really good with the Chromebooks because you don't have to go to your teacher every day and be like, okay, so you do this. And I think it's less stress on the teachers too, because they can just hop over it on the weekend. If it's not due until like a week, they can hop over in the weekend. For the early students, they'll type it down in a day. So I think it's very easy for teachers. It hasn't just benefited the students, but also teachers, because it's easy for them to just go into their student stuff and see if they have it, and especially with Classroom. You can go, it'll connect to Google Docs, and you can type stuff down and turn it in on time, and it'll tell you if it's late or when it's due, or if it's due tomorrow, say it'll due tomorrow, or it'll say the exact date. So Google Classroom I love Google Classroom. It's really cool, and I know when everything's due.
Charlie, how about organization and productivity? Can you speak to that, please?
Well, I think a lot like Kara said, I think I really like the feedback that the teachers can give for documents, because if you're writing and you're maybe not sure about some things, or you need some outside help, it's really nice to just have a teacher just open up their computers and then look at that document that you shared with them, and then they can make comments or make changes and make a lot of good feedback. So I think that's really nice. And also the email thing is nice too, because you can, if you have a question but you're not at school and the teacher can't answer it for you by word of mouth, then you can just email them and they'll see the question and then they can answer it for you. So that's really nice.
All right, thank you, students. Great work. One of our critical questions that we hope to answer tonight, central questions, what does it look like in the classroom? What does the Chromebook look like in the classroom? We have a 4-minute video which was produced for this evening.
To research something or type up a writing response through despair.
They allow us to do a lot more stuff online, and it's actually saving a lot of paper, and I'm much more focused on it.
research project on the Byzantine Empire, on Islam, as well as the Black Plague, right from our own classroom. And the students are able easily enough to share with me, and I'm able to do it as well on my Chromebook and mine.
I have mixed classes for the electives, so not all the kids have the Chromebooks. But the kids that have them, when I say, hey, let's shift gears and do this, set up your Google Classroom document, or start typing your script, they open up and they go. Whereas the other kids are, going on the computer and they're logging in, and then it takes a little bit longer for them to get started.
In the past, we are able to do much more creative projects with them and share ideas, and it's just made a much more wonderful experience.
I'm Joseph Lawson. I'm in 8th grade. I love the Chromebooks. They're really nice to use. They boot up really fast, and we use them for IXL and German and math. And in social studies and science, we can research easily with Google, and it takes like 2 seconds to just boot up and you're ready to go.
And I like them because everything is stored on Google, so anything I do on this Chromebook I can get to at home, unlike anything stored on the desktop, and it's easier to interact with all the documents that teachers can share with us.
I'm Brandon West, I'm in 8th grade. I think the Chromebooks that we have are actually really cool. It's a better way of learning, it's a better experience instead of using pencil and paper. I really think that the rest of the school should be able to use them and
Interact a lot with teachers or other students, and it
shows us a way for us to do projects collaboratively and work together to get our work done and stuff like that.
Chromebooks made this really easy because the day of the science fair, after they created their video, they were able to just take their computer, hook it up to whatever classroom cords that they needed to use, and present their video from their computer. Years past, we've had so many glitches with technology, with sound, with all these different things, and this year, because they had, the Chromebook, we didn't have any of those problems. The other thing,
the kids are basically controlling their learning and controlling how they want to receive information, which is something that the kids didn't have before.
Okay, next we want to ask, the next question is, what is the classroom application? And we have teacher pairs, middle and high school teacher pairs here this evening. Technology integration, Tom Mulaney and Tommy Vitsa. Engagement, Michelle Mazurek and Scott Britton. And finally, feedback, Eric Bloom and Eric Hirshman. So I'll hand the microphone over to the Toms.
Do you want me to caddy and you?
No, I got it.
Okay.
All right, so
these are 4-minute pairs, 4-minute teacher presentations. So.
Hi, I'm Tom Mulaney. I teach 8th grade history and 9th and 10th grade history. If you could advance to slide 1. Just to demonstrate how this would appear to a student in my classroom. So this is taken off of my Google Classroom. All my students in my 9th grade class are accessing this every day as part of our everyday instruction. And so this will be our second lesson in our French Revolution unit. And so you have something called guided notes, and then you have a YouTube video. What does that mean? If you could advance. So guided notes are simple. So think back to when you were in high school, or if you've had any sons or daughters in high school, oftentimes the notes can become just this one clump of writing, poor handwriting like I have, and then you go back and review it and it's meaningless and it does nothing. So my colleague Jessica Riley developed this idea of guided notes where you have all these it's all organized for you, and then you're filling in and you're also answering questions as you go. So you're not just writing down something, you're interacting with it, and then when you go back to it, it's all organized. Now in my 9th grade class, when they go back to it, it's not only organized, but it's not in paper form, it's digital, and it's all in one folder on their Google Drive. So it's nice, it's easy to get to, and it looks good. Next slide. So that video piece. So what if you were absent that day? Well, now you have to get the notes. Well, what I do with the Chromebook is I what I do is I bring up the notes, I put myself on the screen, and then I film myself talking about what we went over in class that day. And so I do a video recap. So any student who is absent can just do that. They don't email me, they don't discuss, they could just go and make it happen. If you need a second chance to review it, you didn't get it the first time. If you want to review it before a test, it's right there. If you are in my classroom and I've asked you some questions, or if I have you on assignment and you don't remember, you get out your headphones and you go back to the video and you're right there in it. Last slide. The best application I have for this is this. It's what I call the impossible to fail quiz. And so what this is you get, I do about 4 or 5 questions, pretty important concepts for each unit. Multiple choice question. If you answer this one right, this one is about the Declaration of Rights of Man. If you answer this one right, you say John Locke, great. You go on to the next question. What if you get it wrong? Well, if you get it wrong, you are directed to this video. It's about a 1 or 2 minute video where I discuss the concept. So it's instant remediation. You got it wrong? Okay, great. You have a chance to review. You then, both these buttons go right back to the question. You give it a second chance. You get it wrong again? Great. You'll watch the video again. You'll eventually get it right, which is why it's called the impossible to fail quiz, all right? The point is not to assess you at that moment, it's to give you a chance. You might have all but one thing. Well, then that one thing you have to review. If you don't know any of it, you're gonna get all the videos and you'll get through it. So that's how I use it in my classroom, to give multiple opportunities to students to learn, to give those students who are absent a chance to catch up. And I think both myself and the students benefit a lot from it. Mr. Vietzen.
Thanks. Hi. Just quickly, I'd like to thank the board. I've been here 6 years now, and I've never had a lack of opportunity with technology, and that is a thanks from my heart. Like, right before I came out here, I was, kind of sequestered off in my room there, and I was using YouTube and our video recorder that's built into our software to actually make a video for a kid who's suddenly ill, not able to be with us. And it's a great community building thing where he's going to get that video and his parents are going to be like, he's not at school for a couple days and they're still thinking about him. So it was a good circumstance for that, and thanks for opportunities like that. They're boundless since I've been here for 6 years. If you could go to the next slide. I'll just talk about this quickly. This one's not overly as exciting to me as the next one. But this is an opportunity when kids come to my class in the sequence of math. There's always this element of remediating, well, you were supposed to learn it and know it forever, but we understand that there was this thing called summer, and maybe you then forgot a little bit of it. So it gives me an opportunity when kids come in to give kids a diagnostic, which they take on a laptop or a Chromebook. And it allows me to say, well, you got the first 3 questions wrong, you got 6 and 7 wrong, you got 9 and 10 wrong. You paid attention very well and got nothing wrong last year. And it sets us up to gather data on what skills kids need to go back and remediate. And then through the use of the Chromebooks again and things like YouTube videos, kids can go work and get specific instruction in areas that they need. They can get it in class, at home. Possibilities are kind of endless, almost mind-numbing. So they really challenge us to manage them and harness the best opportunity for the kids, and it's great. If you go to the next slide, this is actually something that's pretty cool. I want you to try and imagine that every kid in the room whose names you see here, they're all logged into this just basic Google spreadsheet, okay? So every kid is typing on this at the same time. So it sounds like it's potential for chaos, but what it is, it's a game where this child, Siani, or actually, excuse me, his last name is Fox, would be playing against Frank, and they play 3 rounds. And the neat thing about it is it fits in with our differentiated instruction model pretty well, because I try to pair the kids up in sort of ability levels that are pretty competitively appropriate. And basically, it's 3 questions where I'll tell the whole class and say, estimate 22% of 532. And then what kids do is they work on a little piece of paper, but then they go to their Chromebook and they enter their actual answer against their guess against the actual answer. And the cool thing is the difference in distance between the actual answer and their guess becomes an amount of points, and you're trying to get as close as you can the whole time. So it's pretty neat, and it's the one thing I like about it too is the kids do a pretty good job of respecting the common space. You don't catch like Fox down here in a box typing nasty things to Grace or anything, because it's also on my board and I can sort of monitor it pretty well. But it's pretty neat, and the cool thing is that kids play somebody at their sort of ability level. So, you know, if you're off by a lot, maybe you're playing somebody who's off by a lot. But conversely, if you're, you know, within like 2/10 of the answer, as some kids are, you're probably playing a kid who's 2/10 away from the answer. So it's a pretty good environment, I mean, to do that. But I mean, it's a really cool thing to see because you have 15 kids editing the same document, not bothering each other, and it's pretty interesting. So that's kind of just a little glimpse of some of the things we're doing. You know, if we told you everything we did with technology, you'd be here till the next board meeting. So we'll try and keep it a little short of that. And I also want to thank Dr. Rittenhouse, who I don't think you realize played bass on that soundtrack. In the not a lot of people know that he did that. He was up all night recording that. So who do I turn this over to here? Great.
Hi, Michelle Mazurek. I teach English Language Arts 8th grade. If you go to the next slide, please, thank you. So we've just wrapped up a unit on Animal Farm. And in the past, we kind of, you know, we did Animal Farm, we did what we needed to do, and then we moved on to the next thing. Mr. Nudek and Mrs. Andre Borges and Mrs. Davis and I have been attending the Penn Literacy Network this year. And so we wanted to try and do a little bit more, take it to the next level. So we decided to do this whole extra unit on persuasion and propaganda. We talk a lot about propaganda throughout Animal Farm, and talk a lot about how Squealer persuades the other animals to do what he wants them to do, and so we wanted to give the kids an opportunity to persuade. So we created this persuasion unit where we had them watch videos and have transcripts of some famous speeches. So they watched the Martin Luther King I Had a Dream speech, they watched Roosevelt's Declaration of War, John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, and also Malala's acceptance speech for her Nobel Peace Prize this year. So one of the things that I've always tried to do is to give my kids multiple ways to access information. So the PLN model is this close reading where you have the text and you've got room to write and all of that. And so we kind of thought, like, well, what if we also show them the speeches so that they're hearing it as well? Because there's a whole other component to persuasion than just the words on the page. The inflection of your voice, the tone, the way that you're actually making eye contact with the audience, and all of that is really important. So we wanted them to see that as well. So in the old days, prior to all of my students having a Chromebook, basically I would project kind of like this, and we would go through the speech, and I had the power to control when I would stop it. That wasn't enough for some kids. Some kids needed to pause more. They needed time to stop, to go, whoa, whoa, what? And rewind. And if I'm projecting it from here, they can't do that. So giving them the Chromebooks, I can also give them the link. If you go to the next slide real quick. So this is sort of the cover sheet for the Malala speech. So they all got a URL. I go through something called ViewPure. So if it's a YouTube video, I can convert it through ViewPure, so it gets rid of all the ads and all of the questionable stuff that can pop up. And they're just seeing the video that I want them to see. They have the packet in front of them. They've got their set of instructions of what I want them to do. But I tell them, I have given you the power to control time. So you can pause. You can rewind. And in the past, watching a video, doing something like that, you would have like the, I missed it. What just happened? Did you get number 4? I don't know what? Here, they're completely immersed. They can control, my colleague Sonia said on the one video, they're in control of their own learning. They have the power to go at their own pace, which I think is immense for them to be able to do that. I can go in, they'll share it with me in Google Classroom. I can see some of the stuff that they're doing as well. So some of the stuff that they have to do, they're doing on paper. Some of it they're doing in Google Classroom. And I can see that they're engaged because I can pop into any of those documents and see that they're actually working on it. Where in the past, I'm walking around the room and, Bobby, what are you doing? Are you reading it? Are you listening? Are you watching? I can see that they are engaged. And I think that, to me, is one of the best things that has come out of this Chromebook experience, is the level of engagement that I'm seeing in my students that I haven't seen in the past. So thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Britton.
Hi, I teach high school chemistry and environmental science. Tonight, I want to share with you 2 classroom stories from my classroom. The first exemplifies learning experience supported by the Chromebooks. The second is the alternative. And both are true. They're my stories. Both stories are stories of organization. They're both stories of transition, efficiency, and real-time data collection. And therefore, both of these stories are, in essence, about engagement. In both stories, students are collecting data. I want you to imagine they're walking around my classroom with test tubes filled of liquids, clear liquids, and they're randomly passing these liquids to one another. They go through about 15 rounds, and they're doing this to simulate an experience in which they are perhaps following the movement of a communicable disease. Perhaps they are looking at the simulating exposure to environmental toxins. After 15 rounds occur, the students are writing down at each round who they interacted with. 15 rounds go by. The students are then tested for the disease at the end with an indicator, and they're told if they have the disease or not. They then sit down and they begin immediately entering their data. In the Chromebook story, while the students pass the liquid, I watch. I can make sure they're doing as they were instructed. Only one squeeze of the pipette, right? Move on afterward. I can catch them early because I'm attentive to what they're doing. After 15 rounds, the students immediately return to their desks. They log into their Chromebooks, and they begin entering their data into this table shared by me, and now smartboard projected. 2 minutes have passed. Some students have finished. My faster students have finished entering their data, and they are seamlessly beginning, without my instruction, to say, huh, I wonder what happened. I wonder where the disease started. Others have not finished yet, and so in true differentiation, those who are finished continue with the analysis, and those who are not continue to enter their data. When finished, they join the analysis. This analysis never ends, and so they're all involved at the same time. One thing naturally leads to the next, and we continue. In the alternative, the teacher has set up 4 laptops around the room, and the confused student, or I've confused the students by setting up 12 or maybe 24 that are already running, because if they're not running, we're going to have a little bit of trouble once we get them going. Of course, open laptops are now a risk as we pass liquids around the room. So the Chromebooks would meanwhile be closed, because we can open them and get started quickly. The teacher is distracted from the learning objectives as I scutter around. I try to efficiently set up and cycle the students now through the laptops. And after 15 rounds, the students take turns entering their data on the 4 or the 12 laptops. The teacher is distracted because now I'm handling login issues again. If there are 24, the students are waiting for 3 to 5 minutes to log in, 24 laptops, and another 3 to get to the shared data table as they try to get into Google. Those finished stare at the overhead, and they begin their analysis. But they're sitting where you are, and they're squinting like you are, and they can't see the screen. So they stop. Okay? The table on the board is small to fit all the data, so the students squint, they give up, it's too hard to see. Meanwhile, Chromebook students have completed a first round of analysis. They're ready to begin discussing the data. This discussion would begin as the non-Chromebook students are now getting settled down to just begin the analysis. Okay? Inherent curiosity has been stifled. Inefficiency, transition requirements, unnecessary time has passed, and the learning flow is herky-jerky at best. However, I want to bring us back to the beginning. Both experiences are organized. Okay? They've been thought through. Both support learning. Both are, with the equipment that's given, well orchestrated. But I think you'll agree they are in fact quite different. Thank you.
So my name is Erin Bloom. I am a first-year teacher at Springfield, so I want to thank you for this opportunity. I am absolutely loving the middle school. And I'm here today to talk about feedback. I teach, like I said, both 6th and 8th grade, and I am doing the writing-based curriculum model in my class. So it's very interesting for me to see the differences between the 8th graders who have Chromebooks and the 6th graders who are working on the Cal laptops. So in terms of giving feedback in the writing-based curriculum classroom, the Chromebooks have truly revolutionized my practice. Using the Google Drive and Docs app, which we use on a daily basis, I'm able to give students instantaneous and more constant feedback on their writing pieces. When students are stuck, whether they are in class or at home, in the library, or even on vacation, I'm able to offer suggestions and support in real time. Where the time constraints and tedium of paper collection and redistribution previously used to inhibit the amount of feedback I was able to give, now the Chromebooks provide a solution to that. So as you can see up here, this is actually a student work. This was our most recent piece. The students wrote an argumentative essay on a justice issue that they chose on their own. And this student wrote his on child hunger. And another student here is offering comments. So you see they have the WC, they kind of have their own language. So WC here means word choice. And the student was suggesting to her partner some words that he may want to go back and revise for either tone or mood or to make a better point. She also talks about adding commas, so the things that we're talking about in class, the students are able to provide feedback to one another. So the feedback provided using the Chromebooks actually more closely mirrors the way that we work as professionals in the real world. We're constantly collaborating. Most of the collaboration now can be done from one country to the next, from one state to the next. You could work from home and you're working with people that are in the office. And it's the same thing with the Chromebooks. The students are able to work with one another no matter where they're located. So using the Chromebooks, the students actually share their documents electronically with one another. And on the daily, they actually provide feedback to one another, in addition to the feedback that I'm able to provide. And I find myself constantly just offering suggestions and kind of pointing them in a different direction, helping them problem solve and think higher in their writing, because I'm able to do it right away, and there's time for it. Rather than collecting the paper, having it overnight, or 2 days, or however many students you have, how long it may take to do that with an actual piece of paper, it is nearly instant. So another way that I actually use the feedback portion with the Chromebooks in my classroom is through Google Forms, which are surveys that you can collect the data, again, instantaneously using a Google spreadsheet. So in order to prepare myself for this meeting, I actually gave my students a survey. I wanted to see, from their mouth exactly what they think of the Chromebooks. And the actual data is going to be presented a little bit later. But these are some of the open-ended responses. And the first one I think really speaks again to this feedback piece. And the student says, I think that the Chromebooks are useful to my writing. It's so much easier to apply revisions because you can read a comment, edit, and then resolve the comment. You don't have to waste paper by constantly writing and rewriting draft after draft. Chromebooks also make it easier to interact with classmates and teachers using Google Apps. The second comment, using the Chromebooks has been a great experience, and it has improved my writing drastically. I've then been able to get good feedback from my peers. Also, the Chromebooks run great, way better than the old computers, so time isn't wasted. So I know we've heard that a few times tonight. The computers, which my 6th graders are using, they do take quite a bit of time to boot up. And those 3 to 5 minutes, you can actually lose a lot of instructional time over the course of a year. And this last one can sum it up. After using the Chromebooks in ELA, I feel that I have become a better writer and editor. I think my writing improved after seeing comments from my teacher and peers. Also, I think that my word choice and spelling have improved after being able to use the Chromebooks. So straight from the students, we can hear how these are useful in feedback. And I'll hand it over to Eric.
Hello, everybody. Eric Hirshman. I teach ELA 9 honors at the high school as well as senior thesis. After Dr. Hacker, after your comment to Dr. Rittenhouse about how good he looks, he leaned into me and said, "You're not getting out of this meeting until your head is shaved." But I have a few more months until I'm going to be donating it, so that'll be another occasion. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, at the risk of being redundant, I think all of my colleagues have done an amazing job explaining the durability of the Chromebooks, the usability, the effectiveness, the time management. So I think, there's no need for me to reiterate the same points. But I do want to say, in terms of what we do in the classroom as a learning community, Mrs. Mazurek said it best. We model a lot of what we do in the professional world into our classrooms now, and we're integrating that into our classrooms. So I think a lot of what we do professionally speaking at the adult level, we have seen the evolution of this. I've been in the district now for 15 years, and I have seen the evolution of the computers, the Dells, and all of the various components that we've had over the years that have reeked of technological issues over the course of 15 years. And the Chromebooks being integrated for the first year, I think in terms of time management and service to our students, it really has truly revolutionized the way we conduct business. So much so, I purchased one for my house, for my family. It was cost effective, and I just think it provides a real avenue to maximize what we do in the classrooms, how we share documents, how we communicate with our students. Most recently, this was a summative, collaborative assignment that we conducted in my classroom where students, I didn't want to include many slides that we have created just because of time management, but this is all an example of student collaborative work. We worked within the format of Google Classroom to present or to provide the ability for students to review for a summative test that they're having most recently on the Odyssey. And so they worked within Google Presentation to create collaborative presentations while offering feedback to each other at the same time, as well as documents, collaborative documents that they can post to Google Classroom. And now they have, instead of taking the time to take notes in class, to potentially not make full use of our time, students were able to create these collaboratively, share them, post them to Google Classroom, and then have them as accessible pieces for a collective review. And I think it's really incredible. They just finished presenting their Google presentations. Google Presentation allows you to include speaker notes, offer comments, really have a freedom to work within a creative space. And it just provides a really nice avenue for exploration and creativity. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. And this is what our Google Classroom looks like. This is from March 12th. And essentially, students can access everything that you just saw on the last slide through Google Classroom. And I think it's a really nice testament to the student community work and the ability to access it and post and just have the freedom to access this information at incredible speed. And that's not to say, I was sitting here thinking to myself, that's not to say you can't do this in Google outside of a Chromebook. But the Chromebook, not only do I feel as a parent, as a teacher, it's cost effective, but why not? We are moving now to a Google landscape within the district. This offers a seamless opportunity to really have students 6 through 12 have use of these Chromebooks where we can only enhance the community learning. And I think it's just a really wonderful piece in terms of the amount of time saved over the course of a year. 5 minutes per period can be a tremendous amount of time throughout the course of a year, if you really think about it. And that's putting aside any other issues with the ability to log on, a computer not turning on, something not being charged. This really, within a matter of moments, you're accessing your whole classroom space. So that's my summative statement. And please don't hold me down and shake my head. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gershman, I'll take the microphone. Thank you. Mr. Gershman will leave here and continue on the yearbook till about 10 o'clock tonight. So he can go back to the basement now, Mr. Hirshman. Thank you very much. Now we will, Mrs. Davis, Lauren Davis will speak about the data we have collected.
I promise I'll be brief. So we surveyed the students prior to giving them the Chromebooks. The middle school rollout was slightly slower than the high school rollout. I like to blame Dr. Rittenhouse for all the errors, and then we correct it before the middle schoolers do anything. While the high school had gotten their Chromebooks, we were busy surveying the middle schoolers, and essentially we asked the middle schoolers, what do you feel like where are you in terms of your skill set? And so along the bottom there, you see the different areas that we surveyed them in. All Google applications, Gmail, Drive, Sites, Calendar, Classroom, IXL, which is our skill-based web unit, and then whether or not they were able to make videos. So what you see in blue is where the kids were in the beginning of the year. And what you see above that are the mid-year results, where we included both middle school and high school. So you can see what growth they had, especially the Google Classroom is the one that jumps out to me. We started at 63% in the beginning of the year were aware of that program, and now 97% of students in 8th and 9th grade are using Google Classroom daily to enhance their learning. We also asked the children about feedback. One of the main reasons that we were interested in the Chromebook was to increase the engagement and the feedback that was offered to our students. And so we asked them in the beginning, how much verbal feedback were you getting from your teachers? How much written feedback? And that written feedback could be marks on papers, could also be comment feedback that you're getting, anything that is in print. And then also whether or not they were getting feedback using some sort of technology, any kind of technology. We use Smart Response. We have a lot of different tools that we use. And so you can see there's marked improvement regarding the feedback that students are given on a daily basis from their teachers. And we're feeling like that's increasing their engagement, it's increasing their willingness to want to participate in class. They're asking wonderful questions, they're sharing documents with Mr. McLaurin and I, we're giving comment feedback. I had a student the other day who shared with us, and I think a minute later, Mr. Mack and I had both commented, and then the student wrote back and said, never mind, I didn't mean to share that with you. And I said, too bad, I already commented. And the last one, this was Ms. Bloom's 8th grade language arts class, and she asked some very specific information that I think is important to share. Of the 24 students in that class, 23 students reported that the feedback that they're getting from their instructor is greatly or moderately increasing due to the use of the Chromebooks. 21% are saying that the feedback they're getting from peers is much higher, and 23 of the 24 are saying that the feedback that they're getting has improved their writing, which is a huge improvement over what the students were able to experience before, because it was all verbal. It was turn to a partner, and then they had to recall that, whereas now they're able to get comment. They can go home, they can review those comments, they can resolve those comments, the teacher can see all of that history so that they really have a sense of progress. Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Oliver, our Technology Director, Director of Technology, pardon me, will talk about next steps.
All right, so I can't make up any of that, and I didn't pay anyone so far, just so you know. And just interesting, we were working on the presentation, and Charlie and Kara were sitting with us, and we started asking them how they would use it, and they actually had all of their notes from the presentation on their Chromebooks. And before we know it, Charlie and Kara actually just shared a document, started putting down everything they wanted to say and putting it together, and I was like, wow. And then we shared their presentation with them, and they actually put all of their comments on the presentation as well as far as their notes. So really interesting dynamic that just happened in developing and working to make the presentation. So the important part here we talked a little bit about is the lease, and the lease ends. Here's your numbers that are the actual laptops that are in place today. So those laptops that seem to be, everyone says, is slow. They become slower when the Chromebooks become faster, I think. And they're only 3-year-old machines. They're into their 3rd year, so they're not that old. My recommendations here, and working with the Administrative Council, is to look at putting Chromebooks and distribute them next year in grades 6 through 12. So we have 8 and 9. Grades 6 through 12, to keep it consistent, to keep the kids that are in 9th grade now on the role that they will be in 10th grade and keep them moving in the fashion that they are, as well as the professional development to help the teachers along as well. So the growth will continue to go. Number 2 is to purchase or replace computers in other areas. So in Erdenheim and Enfield, not quite prepared at this point for Chromebooks there, but some of the laptops that are ending on the lease are in those buildings. So we can purchase some of the devices that we have off of lease, or we can look at getting them new devices. So there's some unfinished business, some items that still need to be addressed. Equally as well, in high school and middle school, there may be areas like Tommy Kierman's room, or a CAD lab, or some software specific that the Chromebook may not fit for. So heavily intensive if we get into 3D printing, and maybe some other areas, they'll require actual full-blown computers, where the Chromebooks fit 99% of what we're doing educationally. Some of the specific programs may actually require computers. So that's why I say purchase or replace computers in areas, and we're defining where those areas would be today. And then additionally, to piloting devices in the primary level, whether they be iPads, Chromebooks, how they work out. I have some folks in 4th and 5th grade that are already asking me if I could have put a 4 up here to make it 4 through 12. So we'll be working the rest of the year and next year to start to pilot how we can reach the folks in the primary levels. And equally as well, how we're doing in the secondary level should we decide to distribute the 6 through 12. The most important bolded item here is that the monies that are used for the current lease will cover and sustain the initiatives that are listed here. There's no budget increase. I'm not asking for money or moving forward or going outside of the bounds that we're already budgeted for. So that is the really interesting part, is that the Chromebooks are probably about 1/3 of the cost of a computer, of a full-blown computer, and that it gives us the affordability on the device. There's always a little payback. We have to maybe increase some network speed, some internet speed and bandwidth, because we're constantly going more out to the internet, but it's not anywhere near 2/3 of an actual device, the additional 2/3. So we're going to move on and get our instructional coach up here, Dave, and we're going to have him move along, and then we have some questions at the end. But sustainability, I think we're in good shape with our budget. David?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I'm David Nudek, and I am the instructional coach at the middle school and high school. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And I will say that through this Chromebook one-to-one pilot, we are really realizing the power of having a device for every student. Tonight you've heard from teachers, you've heard from students, you've heard from administrators, all sharing the benefits of these steps that Springfield has taken. So many great points have been made, and we're seeing just so many great shifts. I believe that Chromebooks are really transforming the way that teachers teach, the way that we assess, the way that we are collecting and interpreting and acting on data, the way that we are providing feedback to students, and not just the depth of that feedback, but the frequency of that feedback. But even more important than that, it's giving us some new and interesting ways to engage our kids. The things that we're hearing from our kids is also interesting. It's helping them, they're finding these tools to be great organizational tools. They're finding new ways to create, to produce, to research, to consume. They're finding really interesting ways to collaborate with their peers and with their teachers. They're also sharing that Chromebooks and that Google Apps environment is improving workflow. It's efficient, it's reliable, it's engaging, it's motivating, and that the accessibility, that's one thing that you've heard. It's that anytime, anywhere accessibility. Not just the Chromebooks in school, but also when they go home, they can access their learning pretty much anytime, anywhere. All of those are really powerful things. They're all really great for learning. And if those are the impacts that we're having with 2 grade levels, just 8th and 9th, imagine what the impact could be if we were to expand that program. I believe that we have the potential to further our district mission of developing and educating those resilient, responsible, global citizens, and that we can better prepare and guide those students to navigate in that digital landscape that we all live in now. And for us to function in that digital landscape, it's appropriate to put the right tools in their hands. And I think that we found that Chromebooks are that right tool. I mean, we've played with a lot of different tools, but we're really finding real success with this tool. I believe that Springfield is really equipped to take on that challenge. We have extremely talented teachers throughout this district. A personal plug, we have an instructional coach team that can offer embedded professional learning and modeling with teachers. We also have an administrative team that's ready to lead the charge. So Springfield has been a Google Apps for Education district for several years now. And since then, leadership, students, teachers have all taken steps. And this just seems like such a great time to take this next big step and to expand this program. And that's it. Thank you for your time. And I forgot to go to my next slide, but I'm going to go to that right now.
So kind of wraps it up, a little longer than we expected, but I just, I couldn't stop them, and I didn't pay them. Really, this is real happenings in the district every day. So opportunity, certainly this isn't the last opportunity for questions. I'm available. You do have the presentation in your email and a PDF. If you have any questions, let me know, but right now I can open it up for any questions from the board.
Rich, I just want to comment on a few things before we open it up, if the board doesn't mind. And I see there are questions, and that's terrific. I really want to, I guess I'm at a loss for words in terms of describing what I am seeing now at this point in the school year versus the uncertainty that faced us as we embarked on this rollout and this so-called pilot program at the beginning of the school year, where, to be quite honest, there was a lot of floundering in terms of how are we going to do this, how's it going to work. We kind of got these Chromebooks and threw them in the hands of the teachers as the students were walking in through the schoolhouse doors. And this is just but one group of a representative group of teachers who really embraced the opportunity to delve into learning more, not only about the potential of the machine itself, but the potential in terms of their instructional stewardship in the class. I had the very good fortune to sit in Tom Mulaney's classroom on several occasions and to actually watch the Chromebooks being used. Tom was kind enough to not only invite me in, but to encourage me to come in and to really watch and see what the students were doing, and I was blown away. And I think it was way back in October when I said to Tom, boy, wouldn't this be great if you could come and do something like this at a board meeting and show the board members. So Tom, of course, is here, but what joy to have Kara and Charlie here as well to speak firsthand of their experiences, and of course with Scott and Tom and Erin and Michelle, as well as our very capable administrators, to share their experiences over a number of different content areas to really see the power and the strength that comes from utilizing the technology. And if I have to pat myself on the back anywhere, it's when I plucked Dave Newdeck out of the classroom and said, you've got to be an instructional coach full-time, and you've got to go between the middle school and the high school, because we need you across all classrooms, not just in your own. So I apologize to the students who might have had Dave as a teacher this year, but I think he's done an immense amount of good in his role, along with many of our other instructional coaches. They're quite an asset to what we do here in the district, so I want to thank him for that. So I'll turn it back to you, Rich, and to the team.
Okay, questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I'm the parent of a 9th grader, and getting information from her about this program is like pulling teeth, you know? So I just wanted to thank all of you for all of your effort in putting this presentation together, because it's certainly been something that I've been curious about as a parent and as a board member, to see how well things were working out. So I appreciate the time that you spent, and thank you for coming tonight to talk to us about it.
Thank you.
Arm wrestling. I just have a couple thoughts, so I'll put the thoughts out there, and then whoever's equipped to answer it can respond. So just a couple thoughts. A few of the use, or all of the uses that the teachers were showing, the Google Drive, the peer edit, the teacher editing, the Google Classroom, the video creation, those were all things, if I remember, from when my child was in 8th grade, were able to be done on the laptops, and I think Mr. Gershman said the same thing. All of those can be done on laptops. I guess the current laptops, I think you said, Rich, are only 3 years old.
That's correct.
So other than the only distinction that I really heard between the laptops that the kids are currently using and the Chromebooks is the boot up time. That the Chromebooks tend to be instead of the 3 to 5 minute boot up time, that the Chromebooks are faster. So when I think about implementing the Chromebooks, and I hear you say these laptops are only 3 years old, and even my phone that I just got last year is already outdated. I guess that's a concern too. You know, we're talking about implementing a device that the devices that we have in the school right now is capable of doing all the same things, and are only 3 years old. So I guess I'm just wondering really what the difference is between the laptops that we have now and the Chromebooks, other than the only thing that I heard from anybody that presented, really the distinction is the boot up time.
So I think there's some significant differences in the laptops that we have currently that are on lease. And I'll use a round number. I don't want to use any numbers because if there's a bidding or anything for the Chromebooks, I don't want to infringe on any state requirements. So I'll use a number of $200. And if our buyout for the current laptops are $200, that means we can call Dell and we say, hey, we want these laptops. We want to keep the 1,170 devices at $200 a piece. We can keep those, and they will be out of warranty. They will be 3 years old, and they will be ours to keep and to dispose of as well at the end of the term of their life. Equally as well, for the same $200, we can get a brand new Chromebook. That will give us 3 years of life out of it. I would expect probably 2 years, maybe 3 years on the actual laptop. Along with the boot up time and the speed, there's some configuration situations, so if you need Microsoft Office, and all of those things you can certainly do on a laptop. The Chromebook is not specific to, we need a Chromebook to do these things. Google Apps for Education is out in the cloud, and you can access it via your phone, your laptop, your Chromebook, your iPad, or any other device that you have. The significant piece here is nobody owns those actual devices, meaning the user. So they're kind of specific. Right now we only have 1,100 in the district that cost quite a bit of dollars in the lease. For those the same dollars, I can put a Chromebook in every student's hand rather than just the 1,100 devices. And nobody owns it, so there's some configuration issues. When you have a laptop, you have to install it, you have to do the Microsoft updates, you have to do the other pieces, where the Chromebooks are literally, when they break, can be exchanged for another one, and you log in with your username and you're done. You're up and running. So there's also some savings on the back end on the support side and management side of the devices. They're also managed through Google Manager. So lost or stolen can be found or shut down or erased remotely, so we don't lose any data that may be on the devices, and inventory as well. There's no inventory piece on the Microsoft side. So the boot up speed is one piece, and they see a difference in it today. If we were to keep the laptops for 3 more years and compare it to a device then, you'd see a significant difference. Equally as well, these devices are 14-inch. They have a little more memory in them, so they're up a notch from what you may purchase from a retail store. So they're not a consumer model. They're actually a business model developed for education. So there are the differences between the actual Chromebooks and the laptops that we have today.
Rich, can I have one more thing too?
Certainly.
I want to make sure that it's clear what we're talking about in terms of boot up time. So the Chromebooks, we're talking about 5 to 7 seconds with a single login. So the children log on with their Gmail password and they're able to get everywhere they need to go. The laptops on average, 3 to 5 minute boot up time with a double sign-in. You have to log into the network, and then you have to log into Google. So you've got 2 opportunities where you can have password issues. So we did the math on that. That's 3 to 5 instructional days. So if you log into the computer in each of your 4 classes every day, and then you multiply that over the course of the day, it's 5 instructional days that we're spending booting up computers.
And if I have 10 minutes left in class with a Chromebook, open it up, get started. If I have 10 minutes left in class with a laptop, I don't have time. By the time it gets booted up, we're going to have to shut down, you're going to have to put it back in the cow, and then the next class is going to come in, and it wastes time.
I walked in a little bit late. So for the Chromebooks, the students, are they going to be taking those home with them every day then?
Up until this point, that's an unanswered question. We have not decided to let them take them home. Working also with the other tech directors in the county and how maybe letting them make some mistakes or some positive plans for taking them home. But I don't think that we've reached that level of taking them home, making that decision.
Okay, because that was just part of my concern on that side. Obviously, would be agreements for taking them home, security, and other things like that. Which you mentioned they could be tracked at some point if they needed to. But the other part is if they're not getting taken home now to consider would be just how many households in our township where people cannot afford computers at home and might not be getting out to the internet would be another consideration. Aside from that, I think that covered all the questions I had, just because you mentioned that there is security built in, obviously, on the devices and everything else.
There is with Google Apps for Education, it does protect our students and our teachers from Google in the world. Equally as well, I'm working on some filtering. Part of the reason why I can't say to take them home is we should make sure that the machines are filtered when they're not here, so when a student takes it home, we're not on someplace we don't belong. So there's a new product we're working on for the summertime for our content filtering that has some pieces for that, as well as what happens disciplinary-wise if something should happen, a little responsibility. How do they handle them when a student has to go to sports? What do they do with their device? I have some 11-inch devices we're working on, so they may fit in a locker a little better. And so there are discussions, and I think there's some hurdles we have to cross before we can get to that level.
The warranties on them, it sounds like then for anything that's like a breakage percentage that would be taken care of with warranties, they just basically trade them in and get a new one, and the other one goes back to the shop for repair?
Warranty on any Chromebook from any manufacturer is 1 year for manufacturer's defects or breakage, if it's not obviously have tire tracks on it or something of that nature.
How's the current track record been on the Chromebooks? Has it been really good?
It has been fairly well. We've had a few broken screens from drop, but over the 400 devices that we've put in, probably maybe 3%, 4% are actually broken or not working for us.
Probably not the same percent then for the laptops. I would assume are a little bit better then.
Yeah, the laptops actually probably don't break as much because they go from the cow to sit on a desk for 5 to 7 minutes and then back in the container. Additional piece, we're looking at some sleeves that are reasonable for the students to carry them around. So I don't want to cut anybody off, I did a little survey with the students in the high school down in their lunch. The biggest thing, Charlie, if you can hold yours up. 2 biggest questions are, it's white, can you get me something to clean it? And can we take them home? They were the biggest questions. I was asking them, I was showing that's a 14-inch device. I was showing them an 11-inch, which is about the size of a piece of paper. And I said, is this doable? Is it workable? They didn't care. They said, we do it on our phone. 11-inch is great. It's a lot smaller. I can carry it during the day versus the 14. So they were the 2 main questions from our students.
Thank you very much.
I just want to thank, first of all, the 2 students, Charlie and Kara, for presenting. As a board member, we never really get to interact or see what the students are doing, and as well as the teachers, thank you so much, because we never get a chance to see who's teaching and what you're actually doing and getting a glimpse of what's going on in the classroom, and so I think the presentation was great, so thank you for that. 2 questions. The first one, are textbooks going to be able to be downloaded or uploaded or something to the Chromebooks?
So now that we see that 400 devices work out really well, and these 2 rows of people are a testament to that, our next steps are where do we go next? How do we take them home? How do we get digital downloads? We'll be working with Dr. Atkinson on curriculum pieces and how to tie them together in the future. So a lot of other districts are doing a lot of things. I think UD just put in 6th grade Chromebooks. I know that Jenkintown has had Chromebooks. They still don't take them home, but they're working on additional resources to expand the actual use, and the textbooks would be one of those pieces. So we've also added WeVideo under David's recommendation, which is how the 8th grade students did all their science projects, all through a program on the Chromebooks where you can actually do video. So it's just, I say it's exploded in the 7 months that we've been going through. It just continually expands.
Thanks. And also, what's the battery life, like, before you have to charge it?
Charlie, what's the battery life?
Probably like 7 to 9 hours.
Oh, really?
Have you ever had to charge it?
During the day.
So during the day, they've never had to charge it so far. They do stay in their homerooms. They're plugged in before they go. The homeroom teacher's responsible to make sure that they bring them back and they're plugged in, or if they're missing, and they charge overnight and they have them. That's actually a 10-hour battery life on the 14-inch, and I think it's a 10-hour battery on the 11-inch as well.
Yeah, because... Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, she stole my question about the textbooks, because I have at least 2 kids. Well, no, I know of no. I have 2 kids, and my youngest, thank you, Dr. McCarthy, she actually brings home the 80-pound backpack, and it would be lovely to reduce that weight. But thank you, she has the shoulders of a giant. It's great. She moves all the furniture in our house now. No, but, and by the way, wonderful use of child labor. Thank you, guys. You were awesome. You know, if anyone has to sell the board on anything, that's the right idea. I don't know why you didn't think of this in union negotiations. But, no, my other... I'm sorry. I wish... Well, we can strike that from the...
You have a question?
No, they're going to bring the 7-year-olds, which are a lot cuter, because as you guys get older, my kids, you know, they're still lovely. But no, my question: how customizable are the Chromebooks? Like, can the kids download stuff, or is there restriction on them, or?
So the majority of the pieces can be pushed through the Google Manager. So should we find an app or a plugin or some piece that we want to add, we add it to one place, or a group, or the board, or whatever, however it's delineated, and it's pushed down to them. Anything else is limited to be downloaded based on content. So there are other pieces, and the Google Apps for Education does a good job at keeping all the educational pieces away from all the secular areas that may be questionable. But they can download limited items, and the majority of them are given to them immediately. So for the whole 8th grade, when we did WeVideo, we paid for WeVideo, and then we added it, and the 200 laptops in the 8th grade got WeVideo. I can't say how much time that saves from my tech staff installing 200 times a new image or a new software. So
I was thinking, because my kids would download games. I don't know how much that's restricted versus...
They can download some of the games. There are educational games, but anything can be blocked if it becomes a nuisance or if it becomes questionable. And the trouble is that they're added every day, so it kind of puts that responsibility back on the students to be a little cognitive of why we're using this, and that it is still a school device.
And right now, so the students take them out, I guess, of their locker and then put them back in their locker before they go home?
Homeroom.
That's okay. Oh, home.
They get them in their homeroom, they carry them through the day, and then they return them to the homeroom at the end of the day.
Thanks.
Can I make one more comment too, because I can't help myself over here? Two quick things. One, almost everything that the Chromebook does is internet-based. Okay. So the hard drive to download is like, it's enough to put like one PDF file and then it hollers at you. Oh. So anything that they're doing, it's not really downloading as much as it would be accessing something that's on the internet, right? So you can't really install something like you would on a regular laptop. It has to be cloud-based. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing too is most of the secondary textbooks are available online in a web format. So the majority of that, while it's not an interactive textbook or anything like that, it is something that children can access because it's cloud-based. Does that make sense?
Okay. Piggybacking off what everybody else said, outstanding presentation. You could see the energy, the creativity of the teachers, the uniqueness of each teacher and how they're using it. One of the questions I had, you talked about the budget. The amount that we're spending now for what we have, you're saying it would be roughly the same amount spent for more of these Google Books, right?
That's correct.
And so if the cost is covered within our budget, it's really almost like a no-brainer, is what you're saying. And you're also commenting on the fact that why do we upgrade our phones? We get a phone every so many years, and we're eager to upgrade for better speed, and that's what you're talking about. There's better speed to start the class every day. You have student engagement. When you talked about the two different sizes right now, you talked about a smaller size. Is that smaller size cheaper or the same cost per unit?
A little cheaper.
All right. I'm not sure if I understand the value in taking it home. You have to have internet access. And so right now I see the huge value of it being in the school and staying in the school. So I'm not sure yet if I understand the value in the students being able to take it home. If we're not there yet, you might not have to share now why, because we're not there yet to say we're ready to go that direction. But when that time comes, please, you can definitely explain the benefit of that when we're ready to go in that direction. I do like the idea of that. One of the questions I do have is for teacher preparation. I liked a lot of the different ways it was being used. Do we have a process at the present time to help encourage the other teachers who may inherit this next year or whenever we vote on this to be as creative? Some of the styles I like that I thought might be across the board, I don't know if it should be, but the guided notes where students will put their notes in and now they're legible is also helpful for parents at home when you say, what did you do in school today? Let me see your notes that you took. You can look at on the internet. Also the recap. I don't know if every teacher wants me to say, I like that idea of a video recap from the lesson for the day. But I definitely see the advantage of all of that helping the students. I like the presentation about differential teaching, allowing the student to work at their pace but end up at the same place at the end of the class period or the chapter or lesson plan. So I definitely see the benefit of that. I like that. I have no real question about why should we do this or the benefit of having it or the pros and cons. I'm really more interested in seeing how can we help each teacher grow to using it and having the same level of energy that you demonstrated here today. Thank you.
It's her question.
There you go.
So this year, what we really did was we took our cues from the teachers, and so we met as an 8th grade group. I know that they have a Chromebook committee at the high school, and we really took our cue from the teacher because the way that a math teacher might integrate is slightly different than how an English teacher might integrate. And so we met as a team to talk about those ideas that they had. We've offered opportunities for after-school workshops. I think, Mr. Mullaney, you're up to 8 or 9 after-school workshops that have been offered for committee hours. The team at the high school meets on a monthly basis. The 8th grade team meets every week to talk about not only the management of them, because that was a big issue in the beginning. When do you pick them up? When do you drop them off? Do they go to specials? What happens when we go swimming? It happens throughout the year that other things came up that we needed to address. So in our very preliminary conversations between Mr. Oliver and Mr. Nudek and Dr. Rittenhouse and I, we need to talk to the teachers. And so if we have permission to move forward 6 to 12, step 1 would be sit down with the 6th grade teachers. It might look different in 6th grade as compared to the way 8th grade did it. It might look different with seniors as compared to how it looked in 9th grade. And so they need to give us some guidance in terms of what they think developmentally works for the children. And then we need to start sharing. At the middle school level, our grade levels during Spartan Block are able to meet every 6 days. So to have Mrs. Mazurek say, listen, this is how I'm using this in my classroom, then perpetuates that being used across the board. And so once we have permission, we can roll forward.
I think just to piggyback on that, the device is new, but good teaching is not. And the idea of collaboration amongst teachers is also not a new invention. And I think one of the things, if anything, that we need to pride ourselves on is we talked about the coaching and the opportunity for teachers to be able to learn through sessions with the coaches. Here are ways in which you can utilize this tool. This is but one additional tool in the arsenal that teachers have in order to try to increase engagement, opportunities for feedback between students and teachers and students and their peers. So this is simply another tool, but good teaching is a continuous process that goes on every single day throughout every single year of a teacher's career. I thought tonight one of the things that I heard that was most inspiring was, you know, here you have a first-year teacher who says, this has revolutionized the way I'm teaching, and she's only in year one. So, you know, when Erin is at Eric's level and is teaching for 15 years, if she continues on this growth spurt that she's engaged in, who knows what she'll be capable of doing. So I think part of it is that intrinsic motivation that teachers have in terms of honing their craft and improving their craft and going to the right resources. Our obligation as an administrative team is to be able to provide those opportunities, provide the tools for them, and provide the professional development and resources that they need, such as the coaches, to enable them to improve.
Thank you.
Well, most of the really big questions have been asked already, but again, I just wanted to reiterate, thank you so much for the presentation. I was smiling through the whole thing. It was really an exciting presentation. I kind of wish I was back in school again because it's really cool. There's lots of cool stuff. I guess my question is about students. I know that most of our students are really computer savvy, but I'm sure there are some students who aren't real technically smart. So I'm wondering what supports are there for them to learn how to use this device, how to use the software. Is it just sort of on the fly in the classroom? Are there specific tutorials and things for them to learn and refine their skills on it?
I can speak a little bit to that.
Okay.
In the very beginning of the year, in the middle school, I've done training for the entire incoming 6th grade. And just very basic training. Here's how Gmail works. Here's how Google Calendar works. Here are the functions of Drive and basic organizational things. So we cover some very foundational things. Other scaffolds built into the years, definitely through their peers. They sponge a lot of that mastery through them, as well as through the modeling done by the teachers in the classroom.
And I'll just add too, the project that I was talking about that I had just completed, part of that too was looking at World War II propaganda posters and creating their own. And I said, I want it to be digital. I don't know how to do that. So David came in and showed the kids how to use Google Drawing, which is a part of the Google Classroom set of apps that within, 10, 15 minutes, he was able to go, okay, well, here's this model one. If I was going to take this and do something that would reflect the speech that I was writing and reflect Animal Farm, I might do this, and this, and here's where you can go to get these images. And I mean, they took off right from there then. And so 10, 15 minutes of David coming in, and now that I've seen him do it, I can do that next year when I do this project again. And I mean, they just flew with it then. So they pick up really, really quickly.
And that's part of the instructional coaching model, is that it can be tailored to every classroom's needs. So that same kind of thing happens maybe more often than you might imagine, where a teacher has an idea and we'll work that out together, and sometimes I can go in there and model or co-teach that with them, and oftentimes that's a technical skill. So yeah, they're getting that.
Great. Good. How's it working for our special education students?
I think that from an assistive technology standpoint, we actually started using Chromebooks a year ago with some of our students because we found that we were running into the same laptop issues in class, and so they weren't able to get right on to use like a text-to-speech app or things like that. We also are using the IXL program in our life skills classroom. So the students are able to use the Chromebooks. Every student in 8th grade has been issued a Chromebook regardless of your level of need. And so the apps are so flexible that we've been able to find things that work. The only thing I think the Chromebook doesn't do from an assistive technology standpoint is it doesn't address kids with really severe communication needs. We still rely on the iPads for that purpose. So I probably have 4 or 5 students that have an iPad that they're working with because they're using it as their communication tool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your hard work.
Okay, I just want to say again thank you to the board for giving us the time to present to you. A special thanks to Charlie and Kara again. Kara wants to talk. And I'll give 1 second, Kara. And Andre McLaurin, who did the video for us. Come on, hon, you can use the microphone. So Andre he didn't have a part in the presentation publicly here, but he did create the video and spend a good amount of time. So I want to make sure he was recognized.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say thank you for listening, number 1. And number 2, the Chromebooks really have helped me. And did it help you, Charlie? Yeah. It keeps us really organized, and all our teachers really love it because we were doing work today, and it's much easier to use them in class because I really can just open it, put my password in, and then go to classroom. And I'm in Mr. Mulaney's class, and we do work on the Chromebooks all the time, and it's so much fun because I have to wear glasses in some of my classes, so it's much easier just to open my Chromebook right there, and he has it up on the thing, and he tells us what to do, and we go ahead and get it done. We have Newsella, and we do that, and it's been turned in. He'll be like, did you do your Newsella? He'll be like, oh, 24 people completed it. Why haven't you completed it? So it's really easy to use, and I really think it benefits the teachers and make it easier. So thank you for listening.
Do you think with all the extra time you have in the classroom now to learn, the teachers will be able to skip giving you homework?
No, not exactly.
Okay, and I'll follow up through Dr. Hacker and obviously work with Mr. King on finances, and I'm sure we'll be talking again. But thank you again for your time.
The next item on the agenda is the reports of committees. We do have a property committee report, and I was prepared to give that report. Mr. Taylor and Mr. Thorne went to the Township Planning Commission meeting this evening. That's where they were in our effort to move forward with our cafeteria expansion. James, I don't want to steal your thunder. If you would like to give the property committee report, I have the minutes right here, or I can do it. So the property committee report will be given by James Taylor. Thank you.
On the agenda we had the property committee. It was on Monday, March 9th at 8:15. We talked about the architect recommendation for feasibility study, which is on tonight's agenda for recommendation. We talked about the Antonelli lease extension update for a 2-year extension on that. And we also had a discussion about the Township Police having access to district surveillance, video surveillance. But there's going to be more discussions on that going down into the future of exactly how that would happen and when it would be accessed. So we'll have to work closely with the police on that. And I guess tonight I can say from the township meeting that we were at that they did give a preliminary approval, but it's contingent on they wanted to get a percentage of the impervious for the total, but otherwise everything went well tonight over the township meeting for us. And I think that's it because we did not make a meeting date yet for our next property committee.
Thank you. Just one quick announcement. Next Wednesday evening, March 25th, if you enjoyed tonight's presentation, you'll also enjoy next week's coming up. meeting of the Key Communicators Council. Anyone is invited to attend. We will be in the middle school library at 6:30 p.m. And all of the administrators, along with videos showing students at various activities throughout each one of our schools, are going to be talking about skills remediation and attempts to not only dive into the data and identify deficiencies, but what do we do once those deficiencies are identified. So we have a fabulous presentation that is prepared starting at Enfield and showing pause time where students work in flexible groups with different teachers all the way up through the high school, and some of the tutoring efforts offered peer-to-peer, as well as our attempts to try to provide equity and access into higher level classes for all students. So it should be a great presentation, and we hope people will be able to join us next Wednesday evening at 6:30.
I need to switch my glasses. The consent agenda, those action items considered routine and/or which have been previously discussed by the board, will be enacted under one motion unless removed for a separate action upon board request. There is no items on the consent agenda. New business, personnel, personnel attachment. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: administrative personnel, certificated personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities, and conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapis. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 2, overnight thespian trip. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves an overnight trip by Thespian Troupe 1154 to the Thespian Festival 2015 at the University of Nebraska from June 22nd through June 28th, 2015, as per the attached, attachment P. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 3, overnight youth and government club trip. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves an overnight trip by the Youth and Government Club to the Model Legislator Convention in Harrisburg, PA, from April 16th through April 19th, 2015, as per the attached, attachment Q. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Got that, Mr. King? Is there any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 4, architect recommendation. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors accepts the recommendation of the Property Committee to use the architectural services of Gilbert Architects to perform a district-wide feasibility study in the amount of $16,000. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Mr. King?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 5, Antonelli lease extension update. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors accepts the recommendation of the Property Committee to extend the lease for the Antonelli School of Photography for a further period of 2 years, commencing October 1st, 2016, and expiring September 30th, 2018. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. Oh no, getting tired. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Are we allowed to discuss this, Mr.
Well, it depends what the nature of your question is.
My question is, item number 2 refers to section 3F of the lease. I'm just curious as to what this, is that
That refers to the cost of living increases that are built in every year. It changes every year based on cost of living adjustment. It's been going up every single year. Not in this agreement, but that's in the original lease. We can get you the figure if you want to know, for example, what it is currently.
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 6, Solicitor Services. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the agreements for solicitor services with Fox Rothschild LLP for the period of July 1st, 2015 until June 30th, 2016. Is there a motion? Motion. Is there a second? Second. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Congratulations. Number 7, change order number 6, Erdenheim Foundation wall repair. Recommended motion. Board of School Directors accepts the recommendation of the Property Committee for change order number 006 REV2 from JPS Construction Company, Inc. for work associated with the relocation of concrete stairs. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
I have a question. Is this work that's already been done as part of the project?
Yeah, we've been discussing this one change order. Mr. Thorne felt that it was too high to begin with, so this is the last thing of that project that we've been negotiating it. Okay. We felt that this was an acceptable price now, so that's the only reason why we're voting on it separately.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 8, E-rate legal and consulting services. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the Priority 2 E-rate legal and consulting services agreement between Deborah M. Creedy, Esquire, and the School District of Springfield Township for the funding year 2015. Attachment R. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Any questions or comments? Mr. Dean?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratusky. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 9, 2014-2015 revised school calendar. The recommended motion, the Board of School Directors authorizes revisions to the 2014-2015 school calendar, adding Wednesday, June 17th, 2015 as a half-day of school and changing Friday, June 12th from a half-day to a full school day of school. Attachment S. Is there a motion? Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Question. What's the last date?
June 17th.
That was quiz.
Yeah, I know, I was like, did I just read that? I think I just read that.
So is this an extra day?
Yes.
How do I vote for that?
You should have ran it for yourself.
Number 10, MCIU Special Education Cost Plan. The recommended motion, the Board of School Directors approves the 2015-2016 Special Education Cost Plan between the Montgomery Intermediate Unit and Springfield Township High School. Springfield Township School District. Is there a motion? Motion. Is there a second? Second. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratuski. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 11, confidential settlement and release. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the confidential settlement and release for student 201-503-17-01. Is there a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratuski. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Number 12, high school new course. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following Springfield Township High School course offering for the 2015-2016 school year, multivariable calculus, attachment T. Is there a motion? Second? Any questions or comments?
I will answer this. If you have taken, as the proposed students who will be taking this course, every math course in the high school that we have to offer all the way through AP Calculus, you'll be welcome to join them. You can get college credit for it as well.
I think that's been answered, but I was just going to ask what prompted the adding of this course.
It's for Holly.
Ms. Casalis. Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Schultz. Dr. Taratuski. Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. Public comments on non-agenda items. Future meeting dates. School board meeting, Tuesday, April 21st, 2015, 7 p.m., Breeze Memorial Lobby. Interim board meeting, Tuesday, April 7th, 2015, 7 p.m., Breeze Memorial Lobby. And that's it. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you. And everyone, have a good night. There'll be